Commence primary ignition.
This is where the fun begins.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to yet again another episode of Mando Talk. This is one of our hour-long podcast episodes where we are going to dive into some form of Star Wars topics, news, discussion, who knows. But joining me, of course, I'm Caleb Keller, but joining me is DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan. DJ, what's up? It's been a while, so how's it going?
It's going well. I mean, it's been the busiest summer career-wise I think I've had in a very long time, maybe
almost
ever.
Yeah, and almost as Star Wars fans too, honestly.
No, and it's been so much that like I've had to just say, okay, I had to put away Star Wars for a month. Really, like I haven't watched hardly anything since Obi-Wan ended, other than Light and Magic, which review of Light and Magic, all 6 episodes coming this week to the channel. So check that out. To the YouTube
channel. There you go. So subscribe to that channel.
But it's just been go, and I'm going on vacation later this week, so like I'm about to hit that downward trek for the summer, so it's looking like it's going to be good. But having said that, let's talk all these things Star Wars, because I know we've got a lot to go over. A lot's happened. I personally need the ketchup. I need to, not like the condiment.
No,
like,
you need the ketchup.
I'll
probably
ketchup,
deliver mustard more so. I'm the mustard guy.
I hate mustard.
Get out of here.
Podcast over. Hate mustard. Friendship done.
No, let's get into it then. I mean, it sounds like, just all around, it's been busy, but we're kind of transitioning here at Mando Talk. So here's kind of an update regarding our podcast schedule, things like that moving forward. So we are going to start doing once a month podcast episodes. Now, I know those of you that are diehard podcast listeners are thinking, man, that's a bummer. But it's not a bummer, I promise. Actually, I think it's going to free up the content quite a bit to where we can have a lot more fun. So here's kind of what it's going to look like for Mando Talk moving forward. Once a month podcast episodes dropping on the first Monday of each month. Now, I say that loosely. We're going to try our absolute best to always make it to the first Monday of each month. But, life happens. But regardless, once a month podcast episodes for sure. We'll find some time to do that. But you can also see more Mando Talk content exclusively on YouTube. Like, for example, DJ, this past week and a half, as far as our YouTube viewing numbers, has been insane. Me and DJ did trailer reactions for Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, DC stuff, Marvel stuff. We're starting to do some YouTube shorts regarding like news and updates and things like that. And when I tell you guys that our views have like tripled and our subs have gone up substantially in the past week and a half, I can't really, like, usually people say that just to say it, but it's the truth. Like, Mando Talk all of a sudden on YouTube, it's going great, having a lot of fun there. So, yeah, if you want as much Caleb and DJ as possible, YouTube is where you want to go. Because, like I said, we're going to keep doing videos as much as possible, as frequently as we can. It's just difficult for us to find the time to sit down for an hour each week for a podcast. But that's why we're committing to the once a month podcast platform. So just wanted to get those updates out there. DJ, anything you want to add to that, or anything that you feel like maybe I left off?
I don't think you left anything off, but just to quickly add something, I did the Rings of Power trailer reaction, and since then, my whole mind has been pretty much enveloped in just Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So like where I've had no time to do Star Wars, that's an absolute fact. but in the last like 2 or 3 days, I have been doing hardcore deep dives into existing Tolkien material.
Yeah.
So I'm preparing myself and my nerd brain for Rings of Power. Like,
right.
Caleb, I'm reading the Silmarillion.
Oh.
You don't just read the Silmarillion, you know, like if you're a diehard Loader fan, you know that, but I'm preparing for some epic, you know, stuff come September with Rings of Power.
Yeah.
And that's maybe another video, maybe another podcast from the time, but that is dividing the Lord of the Rings fandom right now.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
I'm very much looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, and I mean, on the opposite side of that, though, I'm looking forward to that House of the Dragon. You know that.
Yeah.
So me and DJ might have like a little competition on our YouTube channel to see, you know, what videos get the most interaction, clicks, likes, comments, things like that.
Man,
so yeah,
you're already winning.
Hey,
currently,
you know. We'll see. House of the Dragon is just the better fandom. What can I say?
It probably is, honestly.
I'm just playing.
It's not dividing households at this point. Not anymore.
I really can't wait. I can't wait for both shows to be honest. And obviously, coming up next in the Star Wars realm is Cassian Andor. So speaking, and perfect little segue to that. Speaking to that, I wanted to first topic on this episode, since it's been a month since we've gotten to sit down with each other and talk Star Wars, I wanted to just answer this question of what has gotten us excited over the past month in the Star Wars galaxy related to news. Because like usually we do, each week we've got your coverage on news on our podcast platform. Just moving forward, it's going to be on YouTube. So a lot of things have come out. I mean, I think we've gotten some Andor marketing starting slowly starting to ramp up. We've got images, interviews, things like that. I might share some more opinions on that if we have some time to. We've gotten like Acolyte announcement regarding the lead role, the potential lead role of Amandla. I can't remember Amandla's last name, but regardless.
I have it right here. It's Amandla Stenberg.
There you go. Amandla is expected to be the lead for the Acolyte, but that's been officially announced. And we've got like Jedi Survivor. That made like a little news wave recently because apparently it's coming out early of 2023.
Yeah.
So and that's just to name a few. So DJ, what has gotten you the most excited regarding the Star Wars galaxy in the news realm lately?
Well, those two for sure. Because in fact, that's what I was going to mention if you didn't cover them. I'm excited to know more about the Acolyte. That's one of those it's a sleeper show. I feel like once it comes out, we're all going to be like, oh, let's watch this, let's pay attention. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then, Fallen Order's sequel, Survivor. I mean, I'm ready to see Cal again and play the game. And I mean, it's one of those, it's like, a new Star Wars game comes out. Let's jump on it.
Right.
But truly my favorite, and this may not necessarily be Star Wars related, but now I know I can talk about it because you posted about it on Twitter. Your coming child.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, thank you. Those of you who may have not seen this on Twitter, but Caleb and his wife about to have a baby.
We are expecting that. That is true. That is true.
I've been keeping that a secret for a while, and now I'm just kind of like, it's about time we can talk about it. But anyway,
trust me, we've already got. Honestly, okay, actually, hold up. Story time. Pause. We have been to so many different like baby stores, different clothing items, things like that. I keep seeing it's something fancy, but it honestly almost looks like a Jedi robe, but it's so expensive. But I'm honestly about to commit to it because Dawson.
Is this for your kid or for you?
Oh, it's for the kid. But I'll probably get an adult size, right? I got to. I would have to.
You have to.
Dawson, I got to get that for him. I got to get that for Dawson for sure. But anyway,
other than that, I'm not calling it Star Wars related, but it's Mando Talk related, but I think truly my actual favorite thing that's come out of the news in the last few weeks has been the fact that Carl Weathers confirms that Rick Famuyiwa Famuyiwa.
That's a great call. Great call.
He's directing at least 2 episodes according to, Star Wars Newsnet of Mandalorian season 3, which he brings something different to the table.
He's great.
I don't think he directed any in season 2.
I don't think so.
Recall.
I don't think so.
Right. So him coming back for the 3rd season is just incredible. And And if Mandalorian ever makes a jump to like, let's say they do 3 seasons, we'll say 4 seasons and a movie. Let's say that the Mandalorian gets, I think that's inevitable at this point.
Interesting.
I would put that, maybe another topic for the time, but I think Rick Famuyiwa is top 3 directors I'd want to see do that series. Or, I mean that movie. He's only behind Favreau and Taika, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Although I don't know if I would necessarily, because now I have seen Thor: Love and Thunder. That's Taika's latest movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see Taika do a Mandalorian movie. I still am very pumped for a Star Wars movie from him, but I guess maybe just the humor and things like that work in Thor: Love and Thunder. I wouldn't expect that going into a Mando film, so I don't know if he would make my director list for.
That's fair.
Let's do a Mandalorian movie.
I think that's fair. I mean, Obi-Wan was done so well that I would put Deborah Chow on a short list. But you know, the best, I think, honestly, the best 2 aside from Taika would be Famuyiwa and Favreau.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, Favreau is going to be a producer no matter who directs it.
No doubt.
So it's just going to be one of those things. But anyway, he's coming, you know, back to Mandalorian, and that's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I enjoy his direction the most, other than Bryce Dallas Howard, out of Mandalorian.
Yeah,
and that's even including Favreau, honestly. So you know, if he comes, if that's true, I know I'm being very generous. I feel like right now with Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned, I don't know why I forgot Bryce Dallas Howard. She's my number 1. If we do a Mando movie, she's got it. She's the director.
I think that she deserves her own
own property.
Yeah,
okay.
like I don't know,
like Taika's getting.
Yeah, she honestly probably, I would put her ahead of Taika to do a Star Wars film. Period. You know, I don't think I want her to helm Mandalorian. I don't really have a specific reason for it. I just feel like she deserves her own story to tell.
That's a good take.
Because she's just, and not that she has to write the story or anything. I just think that she should direct. And that would be, and I think most fans would agree with that. But, you know, just throwing that out there.
Hey, I like that. All right. Well, there's one more thing that I just wanted to mention as far as how I've been getting hyped and pumped for Star Wars. I am finally almost done with the Thrawn trilogy. I started that thing, you know, the Heir to the Empire, now Legends trilogy. I started that thing I think it was a year ago, because it was last year. It was
about the time I came on.
Yeah, it was last summer where I started Heir to the Empire, because I finished it on the beach. What a perfect way to finish Heir to the Empire. Just relaxing, sunbathing, whatever. Now I am 200 pages into The Last Command, which is the 3rd novel of that trilogy, and I keep mentioning it. And now they've announced that they're releasing like a package deal of these 3, like in their own little collector's case. Guys, wow. I think if you're a Star Wars fan and if you have not read the Heir to the Empire trilogy, obviously there's things in there that can't happen at this point, but I can see it clear as day. They are pulling from that trilogy for sure in this Mandoverse stuff. So if you have not done so, this is not sponsored, advertised, or whatever. If you haven't done so, go check out the Heir to the Empire trilogy. It's great. I should do a video on it. I absolutely love it.
You should.
It might honestly be, after the original trilogy of Star Wars, it might be my favorite trilogy of any Star Wars content.
Well, then let me ask you a very quick question. So do you think that story, you said it's your favorite behind the original trilogy currently, do you think that you now understand why so many of those novels fans just absolutely adore it now?
Oh, absolutely. And I get also too, back when it was 2014 when the acquisition was made or something like that.
2012
was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I see why there may have been some frustration on, that's now Legends, that we're no longer considering that stuff as real story, which I get they had to do. I understand that they had to do that, but if I had read those novels back then, I probably would have been majorly bummed, because it's a commitment to read those things. So anyway, check that trilogy out if you haven't done so already.
Well, you need to drop a video kind of review on the trilogy, because I'm anxious to see that.
Okay.
Because I've not read them.
Yeah, man.
So I personally would like to see that.
All right. We might have to do that then. All right.
Yeah.
Let's now get to our second topic on this episode, and that is the thumbnail of the video, the title of the podcast episode, The Mandalorian Season 3 Leaked Trailer Discussion. Leaked trailer discussion. So, with that said, obviously we're going to discuss it in detail. If you've been trying to avoid the leaked trailer, I honestly don't think us talking about it is going to ruin it for you whenever you do see it in high def, because a lot of these things that we've mentioned, like Bespin Bulletin, Star Wars Newsnet, IGN, like all the people that were in the room at Star Wars Celebration when they showed this trailer, they kind of released, documents and website or whatever I'm trying to say. Descriptions. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
They've released descriptions of this trailer out there, so I'm sure a lot of you that are listening have probably already read these things, but we actually have the opportunity now that we've seen the leaked footage, not in high def. We get to discuss it. We get to discuss it, though, which is always fun. So we're going to kind of just go through this trailer here step by step. I've got the descriptors, at least that I created, as we go through here, and we're just going to share some thoughts, opinions, potential speculative thoughts as we go. You ready, DJ?
I think so.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So, of course, the trailer starts with the iconic Mandalorian theme. Obviously, at that point, that thing is so recognizable. Like, after, John Williams, obviously, his work, this thing is right there as far as just top tier musical cues that as soon as you hear it, you're like, okay, Din Djarin, Grogu, let's go. Let's go. All right, so continuing on in the trailer, the armorer informs Din Djarin, who has Grogu with him. So this is after the Book of Boba Fett, because honestly, I thought this dialogue may have been stolen from the Book of Boba Fett. But the armorer informs Din Djarin that he is no longer Mandalorian and redemption is no longer possible with the destruction of their world. So this is obviously something that us as Book of Boba Fett viewers, we already know this. So I feel like maybe this scene in season 3 of The Mandalorian might feel and seem potentially pointless for us. But this, I guess this is kind of an allusion to that issue that so many people had with the Book of Boba Fett becoming Mando 2.5, is maybe there's fans that didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, so they have to be informed of this information. What do you think of this bit of dialogue from the armorer?
Well, it just made me excited to see what they're going to do with it, honestly. I mean, I didn't really take into consideration what other people would think as far as the not watching Book of Boba or watching it. That was never something that crossed my mind.
Sweet.
Because I just personally was like, okay, well, she's not, she's telling him, okay, you definitely can't, you can't find redemption anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just
tough.
like, but, and I just don't buy that. Like, I feel like that's going to be a major plot point in the whole season where
100%.
we're going to lead to that redemption. So my quick speculation is that won't be a season long journey. It'll be like, that'll be a mid-season thing. And then at the end of it, we'll get our major, conflict.
Okay. I like that. I like those thoughts. All right, moving along here in the trailer. Bo-Katan is back, sitting on a throne of some sort, says to Din, "Your cult gave up on Mandalore. Where were you then?" So first of all, Bo looks fantastic in this shot. Again, even though we saw like a 480p leaked trailer, she still looks great. She looks intimidating. She looks kind of mentally insane a bit too. That was at least my interpretation, because admittedly she's probably really struggling with the fact that Din Djarin has claim to Mandalore because he has that Darksaber at this point. And we can see maybe the setup here, just in this bit of dialogue, of Bo actually going after Din and clashing with him in this season. So what do you think of this dialogue? What do you think of just this scene? I think it looks fantastic.
This scene reminds me a lot of Lord of the Rings Return of the King, when Gandalf and Pippin walk into the throne room in Minas Tirith.
Ooh, okay.
And you see Denethor sitting at the steward's chair, and there's no king on the throne. And I kind of, Denethor, he's delusional a little bit. And I think in this case, Bo-Katan is delusional because she no longer has the opportunity to lay claim to Mandalore. So it's inevitable that Din Djarin makes his way to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that since he's been doing this training with the Darksaber, he's kind of maybe not necessarily gravitating towards the throne, but gravitating maybe towards what the power of that saber means. And Bo-Katan, you know, I'm convinced she's the villain of this season. You know, villain, or at least some kind of an anti-hero of sorts. I mean, I don't really fully know, but
I could see it being like one of those arcs where, yes, at the beginning of the season, she's viewed as a villain, but maybe as the season progresses, she starts to see maybe Din Djarin is the man that needs to lead us into the next generation of Mandalore, or maybe they just come to some form of like an alliance with the fact of, okay, Bo, no, just take this. Like, we don't have to worry about, or I don't know kind of where my headspace is at with that, but I see where you're at regarding, I think she is going to spend some time in this season being a villain, but I find it hard to believe that they're going to continue that arc into another season.
No, I don't think it'd continue past this season. I think that she, in a sense, will be resolved.
Yeah.
Because even right now, I'm sitting here thinking, is there anybody else that they could have in the background that they would bring to the front that'd be like the shocking, you know, oh man, that person's here. You know, there's not many people on that list. That's a very, very short list of people who could do that and that are alive, you know. So it's gonna be a clash, I think, no matter what. It's dependent on how they want to go about it.
Absolutely. All right, good call. Okay, here we go. On to the next bit of footage from this leaked trailer. Mando and Grogu reconnect with Greef Karga, and a pack of Kowakian monkey lizards is seen snickering at the two. So, of course, those monkey lizard thingies are Salacious Crumb from Return of the Jedi.
Multiples.
If you're a longtime listener of Mando Talk, you remember Jacob doing a perfect impersonation of that. And if you're new to Mando Talk, I think if you just go to Spotify, Apple, wherever we're at, and you type in Star Wars impersonations Mando Talk, it'll pop up. It's definitely worth the listen. Greef is looking mighty fresh with that bright red robe, and seems to be doing very, 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 very well for himself. I couldn't tell if this was on Navarro, but regardless, he's pushing credits or something. He's got it going on. What do you think of Greef's appearance in this season?
I love Carl Weathers.
Same.
I mean, a lifelong Rocky fan here. So, you know, Paulo Creed's the first villain I ever hated. And so every time I see Greef Karga, every time I see Carl Weathers, I'm just like, hey, you know, I just get excited. You know, it doesn't matter what he's in. Like, hey, side note, you should watch a movie called The Sasquatch Dumpling Gang, and it stars Carl Weathers amongst other crazy people. But it's a stupid, hilarious movie. It's in the same vein as Nacho Libre, Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay, but
it's so silly. But he's in it, and it's hilarious. But anyway, I get excited when I see him. So for me, it's like, great, he's back. And then I think, is this the season he dies? Because like I think that he's a character that he's so good, man. But like I thought he would die last season.
You just bummed me out. Me out.
Well, sorry, it happens that way sometimes. But I don't want him to die. You know.
Fair. Okay.
I don't want. But if he does,
making me feel a little better.
Is this the season? You know, I can see the writing side of it and be like, what if Greef Karga dies? You know, you write that in there. It's like, you know, what are the implications of that for Din Djarin and Grogu? And you can go crazy from there if you want. But all that to say, he's back. I'm excited. He looks great. Yeah, I mean, it just looks great.
There you go. Yeah, he really does just honestly look phenomenal. Carl Weathers is another person, too, that earlier we were mentioning a short list of directors. His directorial episode in Season 2 of The Mandalorian was great. I hope he's directing another episode or two in this season. All right, rapid fire of frames are then shown. We've got a shot of Captain Carson Teva, who is Paul Sun Hyung Lee. Of course, we've seen him in Season 2. I don't think he was in Season 1, but he was in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, he was in Book of Boba. I loved him in Book of Boba. He had
he's great.
Great scene in Book of Boba.
It's great. Well, with Captain Carson Teva was a Rodian, and then the next frame, the shot that they show, is another Rodian. I don't know if it's another Rodian or the same Rodian speaking to Pelimoto on Tatooine. So I'll pause there regarding our rapid fire of frames shown because I have a thought on that. I think it would make sense for Carson Teva and this Rodian they're trying to track down Din Djarin at this point, potentially. Maybe that leads them to Pelimoto, because that's the last time that we saw him, and then they're off to potentially wherever Din Djarin goes next with that. What do you think of that? Is that a possibility? Is Carson Teva worried about what Din Djarin is up to?
I mean, he doesn't seem to be, when we see him in Book of Boba, that doesn't mean he wouldn't be here. You were talking, and I don't know what it is, but as soon as you mentioned Pelimoto, my mind went back to the idea of Rangers of the New Republic. And maybe there's been a sense of reabsorbing that story into Mandalorian. And I'm thinking there's a chance Pelimoto could work out as a potential New Republic.
Ooh,
I'll say
recruit.
I'll say like not a recruit, just like a boots on the ground, like informant or something, because she clearly, she's too good at being in Tatooine to remove her from Tatooine. So,
that's our excuse to always go back to Tatooine when needed.
Yeah, of course, I mean,
and Boba Fett at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a thing there maybe, but the whole Dr. Pershing thing might throw that off a hair. So I don't know,
man. Ooh, what was his name? Pelimoto flirting with this guy at the end of the Book of Boba Fett. No, it's not Magistrate.
Oh man, I can't remember.
Wow, such a great guy though. So great.
It's the guy with the head tails.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look him up because I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was just trying to say, if Pelimoto's around, maybe he'll make an appearance too. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
All right.
Man, I'm trying to find him. Keep going. I'm gonna find him.
We'll go to the next fire of rapid fire frames. Dr. Pershing. This is a really interesting one. Dr. Pershing is seen sitting in a room with a droid, and a New Republic logo is on the wall behind him. So I don't know what's going on here, because obviously the last time that we saw Dr. Pershing, he's kind of messing with cloning or extracting midichlorians or something with Grogu. So I don't know why he would be in a New Republic facility. Also, next rapid fire of shots, we see a pack of Mandalorians preparing for battle, and Grief Karga getting prepared for a very, very Western-like shootout. Okay, that kind of wraps up the rapid fire of frames, number one, at least, because we got some more rapid fire of frames coming up later. But DJ, what are your thoughts on any of those that I mentioned, especially that Dr. Pershing thing, because I'm very intrigued by why he's in a New Republic facility.
Well, he's definitely been kidnapped. Or he's defected. Ooh. Now, I don't think he would have defected.
Yeah.
Because he seems just a little too willing to work for Moff Gideon and the client, played by Werner Herzog. I think he's just way too willing to do that. Mm-hmm. So, he is a little hesitant every time he runs into Mando, but I don't see, him defecting. For now, I'm going to say he's kidnapped and forced essentially to work with who's got. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. Din Djarin tells Bo, "We are going to Mandalore so that I may be forgiven for my transgression." So again, from Book of Boba Fett, we kind of know that that's probably his mission. That's his goal at this point. So I don't really feel like we have to talk more to that quote unless you have anything else that you've got.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Rapid fire of frames number 2. N1 flying in space. Of course, that is now Din Djarin's speeder ship of choice. What you got?
The Major Domo.
The Major Domo. Yeah, that's Pelimoto's go-to guy now. The Major Domo.
That would be a fun little.
That would be really fun.
That'd be fun. The good comedy. There's some good comic relief in that, if that's what they do. Yeah.
Well, speaking of
somebody's listening to this going, it's the Major Domo, you idiot.
Yeah, they were saying that for the past 3 minutes. All right, so yeah, in one flying in space, a squad of Mandalorians kind of sweeping the streets, which looked very intriguing because one of them kind of had like a cape of some sort. Looked great. Capes look great. A sick shot of Bo at night. It looked so good. Dr. Pershing again appearing to be walking through New Republic halls. Din Djarin with a squad of Mandalorians. Bo looking out of her throne room windows in concern, it looked like. Grogu sitting in Din Djarin's lap in the N1 as they are in the middle of a battle in space. A concerned Greef Karga with Mando. Bo flying her speeder ship of choice. I don't know what we got going on there. Hopefully it's the one that she flies in Clone Wars Rebels. That'd be really cool. But it's also in season 2, right? There's a shot where they've got Boba Fett's, but not Din Djarin's because it just blew up, and then hers. It's
the fire sprayer and then I think also there's the Imperial shuttle in one shot.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't remember hers flying.
Yeah, I don't think they showed that. I think it was just parked.
Either way, it was great to see it in live action.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, to end the Rapid Fire of Flames number 2 sequence we've got here, Bo using her 2 pistols and also Bo saying to Grogu, "Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?" But we'll come back to that quote in a second. We'll come back to that quote because I think the reason why that quote was there was done specifically with what was next in the trailer. So, yeah, what did you think on, because again, rapid fire. I went through a lot of stuff there. Anything in there that stands out?
All of it. And there's not one
there
thing.
You go.
There's not one thing that's like not cool about what you just broke down. I guess my favorite thing would be the idea of Din Djarin in a space battle with an N1.
Yeah.
Just seeing that thing fly around as fast as it can go. I mean, it just makes me want to take my old N1 toy and just mod it out. I mean,
absolutely.
And I would never do that because I love that thing to pieces, but literally to pieces because my brothers are torn it apart. But maybe I should mod it out now. Actually, it might be worth it. But anyway, that's probably the most intriguing thing.
Yeah.
But truth be told, we just need to get to this quote.
Yeah, it's a good quote.
Because unless you want to say something about these things you just broke down, but
no, absolutely not. I think they were all just meaningful things to point out to our listeners here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bo to Grogu. Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian? And of course, after that, we kind of get just a rapid fire again of frames of all these Mandalorian. We've got Paz Vizsla back with other Mandalorians in battle. We've got the Armorer presenting a small Mandalorian helmet similar in color scheme to the Mandalorians that saved young Din Djarin. Just a squad of Mandalorians jumping from a ship. They obviously they're putting the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian this go around. So yeah, DJ, I'll pause there. Speak to the quote and any other thoughts on the multiple Mandalorians that we see in this trailer.
Well, when I heard this quote, if I remember correctly, it was said with an ominous tone.
Yes.
And that was immediately reminiscent to me of the Last Jedi trailer where Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end. Mm. I mean, to me, there's just a mountain of questions that could come from this one sentence. And why they would choose right after that to layer on all these Mandalorians, there's something happening that we're not seeing. And I think that Bo-Katan has her, I'll use the phrase tentacles, kind of weaving in and out of different, maybe, hidey holes and things like that. And I don't know, just all across, I may be that may be the biggest speculation ever.
What you're saying has me really thinking that I could see kind of like this Mandalorian civil war brewing here. You got all the Mandalorians that are following Bo, but you've got all the Mandalorians that are following the Armorer. And Din Djarin is just caught in the middle of he's going to have to make a decision on which side to choose and which side to fight for.
It's just classic storytelling.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great opportunity to tell a very beautiful, recognizable, admittedly, story though. But the sounds great.
The small blue helmet is what gets me.
I know.
That's for Grogu.
You think so?
Well, when I looked at it, it looked like there was, a cutout for the ears. I mean, I've got him right here. You put a helmet
I didn't
on this
see
thing.
that. I might need the high def version for that one.
Yeah, and I think that's what I could be way off.
Yeah,
but, that's what I'm seeing. So I'm thinking,
well,
this may be the case.
The T visor eyelids, whatever.
It was shorter,
and it was wider too at the eyes,
it was like
obviously for his
here.
eyes. I think there's two options. I think there's two options with that. Option number one is, yes, it's for Grogu. Or option number two, we get more flashbacks behind Din Djarin's beliefs. And maybe that was the helmet that the armorer first made for him. Who knows?
That'd be cool.
I would love that one too.
One more thought. A lot of people say Grogu is a Mandalorian.
Correct. Because at this point, the armorer has called him a foundling, though. So he's just as much a Mandalorian as Din Djarin ever was.
Exactly. So who's to say that underneath some of these Mandalorian helmets aren't just random aliens?
Good point.
Because if the armorer is willing to accept Grogu as a foundling, who's to say?
Yeah.
Like you could very easily build the armor up and build the helmet up to be big enough to fit a Rodian head. Will you do it? I really doubt it, because then you've got a guy in a mask wearing a helmet.
Right.
So it just gets a little absurd. But is it possible? If Grogu's a Mandalorian, it is. If you consider him a Mandalorian, I don't know whether or not to currently.
Yeah. I think that's still one of those things that's up in the air for this season to maybe tackle.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
All right, let's see. We've got a cute moment of Din Djarin spinning in the N1 as Grogu, sitting in his lap, has to be pressed back down by Din as they spin. That was really cool. And
it's a good trick.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Great stuff. We already covered the squad of Mandalorians jumping. The armorer attacks with her hammer. Hello. That was cool. And then Babu Frick and his species, or it might not be Babu.
It's Babu Frick.
It better be. It better be.
Oh, come on. It's everybody. That was like, you come out of the Rise of Skywalker, even if you hated it, you loved Babu Frick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you didn't like Babu Frick, what's wrong with you? He's awesome. It's perfect. It's
good stuff.
That's what in our intro music, I'm going to replace Hayden saying "This is where the fun begins" with Babu Frick going,
hey, honestly, DJ, I kind of want to hear that now to see if that should take over Hayden's
intro. I know what
intro.
I'm doing tonight.
There you go. Okay. All right. Okay. I got to collect myself on this one because, again, I'm in the middle of reading the Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire trilogy.
I forgot about this.
Okay. And we see this shot in the frame. This shot in the trailer where there's a massive shot of an Imperial Star Destroyer and maybe others. It's kind of hard to see again in this 480p leaked trailer footage that we've got, but it looks like this Star Destroyer is getting prepped in some way for battle. So again, okay, because I'm in the middle of reading the Thrawn trilogy novels, my speculation that I went down a massive rabbit hole with this one, admittedly. I think this is the Mandoverse, Star Wars, Disney's version of potentially introducing a Disney version of the Katana fleet from the Thrawn trilogy, which was kind of like this just massive fleet of Star Destroyers that got lost in space during the Age of the Republic, and then basically Thrawn and his Imperial reign stumbled upon them, found them, and took them into his naval command, basically. Yeah. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier when I plugged the Heir to the Empire trilogy, there's things in there that make it not possible for Star Wars to be able to do a canon version of the Katana fleet. But this shot just has me thinking somehow Thrawn has got to be involved with this. And I think they're going to start to unravel that, maybe just with a small hint of dialogue during this scene, or an end credit scene to lead to Ahsoka, who knows? But that's where my thoughts went when I see this massive shot of an Imperial Star Destroyer. Because at this point, maybe, just like in the Thrawn trilogy novels, maybe Thrawn is the guy that's bringing the Empire, soon to be First Order, back. What do you think, DJ? What do you
I
think?
agree with that 100%.
Let's go.
I see no issues with that at all. In fact, when I saw that Star Destroyer, I can't remember it because I'm looking off camera right now because I was looking at the trailer on my phone.
Yeah.
I need to probably save it before it eventually disappears. But,
Right.
But anyway, it's going to be out soon anyway, but whatever.
Speaking of that, though, I think it's coming D23, which is September 10th. You heard it here first, Mando Talk. I think we're getting a Mandalorian trailer in September.
I gotta watch a bunch of Rings of Power before I see Mandalorian. All right.
Yeah, you
Did
will.
you know that the two words Mandos and Lorian are taken from Tolkien?
Interesting.
Those
I didn't
two
know
different.
that.
Those words mean something. I have a copy of the Silmarillion with me. It's just in the other room. So maybe later we'll get that out. Maybe anyway. But no. Back to Thrawn. I mean, that's the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
Was let's see Thrawn right here, right now,
Right.
for Ahsoka. Set it up because I think that they would want to hit the ground running.
Right. Yeah.
It's similar to Avengers in that Nick Fury was there in the end credits for, I think, all of those except the Incredible Hulk. That was RDJ's little cameo there. But all the rest leading up to Avengers, it was Sam Jackson. So let's make Thrawn kind of our Sam Jackson, if you will. Put him in now so that we can see him later.
Yeah. Well, and I think doing that too, obviously me and you and those listening to this podcast probably are checking out Ahsoka as soon as it drops.
Oh, absolutely.
But people that aren't into Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that, when they hear Ahsoka say, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn" in Mandalorian season 2, they don't know who that is.
Yeah,
but in Mandalorian season 3, if they wanted to go ahead and reveal this guy's coming in Ahsoka, then they're more likely to check out Ahsoka. So yes, I agree that is definitely a possibility. But even more so, what I was thinking whenever I had first kind of brewed up this little thought of this somehow connecting to Thrawn, I still think just as small as whoever these 2 or 3 people that are stumbling across this Star Destroyer are, maybe just a small discussion of maybe it's somebody leading Din through this place or whatever, and this person just says, "Hey, I hear something of like this big Grand Admiral kind of behind all of this. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's kind of what this shipyard is all about." Just kind of like a side little piece of dialogue that us as Star Wars fans would freak
What's
out.
the name of his fleet again?
It's Katana Fleet in the...
As in like the sword?
Is that a sword?
Katana? Yeah, it's a ninja sword.
Katana.
Yeah, katana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your like typical samurai sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the name of his fleet in the Thrawn trilogy. Now,
I
he doesn't find it until the second book. So he starts off, leading the Imperial remnants without it, but it does end up becoming his little last-ditch effort.
Dude.
Yeah.
What if that Star Destroyer is the one that Ezra and Thrawn took off in at the end of Rebels? And they're just setting up the thing for Ahsoka.
Ooh.
How legit would that be? Because that is Thrawn's Star Destroyer.
You know how cool it would be for that Star Destroyer to be the final shot of the season? And then segue into Ahsoka? Like, come on.
I need a second.
That would be great.
That'd just be like, that shot, hard cut to black, and then fade into the screen.
Yeah.
Ahsoka 2023. It's just like, that'd be perfect.
It would
that'd
be great.
Perfect.
It'd be great. All right, let's keep moving. I feel like we spent heavy amount of time on that Star Destroyer, but there's a lot of possibilities there. Anytime I see anything Imperial, especially in this Mando time frame, I'm gonna bring up Thrawn. All right,
you have to.
Rapid fire of frames number 4. Grogu peeking from behind a wall, of course, just cuteness.
So cute.
They gotta have it. Bo again piloting some more space battles shot with the N1.
Let's go.
More Mandalorians.
All day.
Grogu back in his eggshell. I didn't know what to call that. Is there a name for that?
I mean,
eggshell. Okay.
You could call it Suga.
Suga. Okay, there you go. And then Din and Grogu in the cockpit together with a droid now helping the N1's piloting. Very interesting because in the first season of The Mandalorian, Din Djarin hates droids, doesn't trust them.
Well,
character growth. Character growth.
Yeah, it's character growth is it's what Star Wars is all about. Character growth. Look at Darth Vader. Come on. And look at Mando for that matter. I mean, it's just good stuff. That was an R5 unit, wasn't it?
I think so.
I was excited to see an R5 unit because I think it gives us an opportunity to kind of latch on to a different, shape of droid.
Right.
Even though we've had that in literally everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of let's bring back a classic and throw it in there. I think it's perfect. And real quick on that, I know this is a little nugget, but we got other stuff to talk about.
Hey, it's Grogu. He likes nuggies.
He does. You have to leave out Dino Nuggies and Chalky Milk on May the 3rd, so Grogu will come visit you on May the 4th. This is how it works. But and I did this year, and he visited me. So if you missed out, sorry, your fault. No, but when you go back to watch the Disney Gallery from season 1, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talk extensively about how this was just like playing with their action figures.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, you see Robert Rodriguez in Book of Boba Fett doing animatics, not Book of Boba Fett, in Mandalorian season 2, with action figures. So it's
right.
There's a lot of playing around with your action figures here. And I love that Dave Filoni said, it's like you got a hold of a Boba Fett action figure and you painted your silver to make it different. And he does say that, but like my dad, I'm very fortunate that my dad actually has still all of his action figures from when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a little R5D4. And I love the image of putting that toy next to Boba Fett, the action figure, which he also has. So I've seen the original Boba Fett next to the original R5. And when you put those two next to one another and then just imagine, okay, now add a small, tiny Yoda to that, you really can't get, aside from like Vader, Luke, Jedi, beyond that, you don't really get anything more iconically Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so you put those three together, and I think that's a win. And I think it's a visual win. And I think Filoni and Favreau and whoever else's idea that is sees that and goes, yes, that's a home run, slam dunk, do it, do it.
Yeah.
And go on from there. So anyway, I want to throw that in there about the droid because I think it's something interesting to remember.
Sure.
Going forward, because this is a huge universe and they're pulling from everywhere, but we know they're pulling from the original trilogy. And I think that's something important to remember, that the whole idea of playing with the toys in the sandbox kind of concept. Anyway, that's
for sure.
Weird random soapbox, but there it is.
Hey, fair enough. Okay. The money shot at the very end of this leaked trailer.
I go back and watch it again.
It's not surprising. That this is where we're headed. But man, seeing this in live action, when I saw this and when I finally get a chance to see this in high def, even though I've seen the leak, I'm probably going to freak out. A ship approaches a destroyed Sundari, the capital of Mandalore. And of course, that meaning then that we do officially make it to the planet of Mandalore. Wow. Just wow. Even in this 480p definition that we've got, it looks so cool. And obviously this connects to the book of Boba Fett with the Trail of 1,000 Tears, the Great Purge, all of these different things with the destruction of that, and they show that in the book of Boba Fett, and now we actually get to see the remains, and wow, does it look great. I don't have any other analysis other than it looks great. DJ, what did you think when you saw this in 480p?
Duchess Satine's throne room?
Duchess Satine's throne room.
Where Ahsoka and Maul have their showdown.
Right.
That's that place, isn't it?
Correct.
It's the same city?
Correct.
Who's to say we don't revisit the throne room?
Oh, 100%. Oh, I mean, absolutely. They're stumbling upon the burnt up remains of that throne room.
Yeah.
No doubt.
They have to. And pulling in some Rebels knowledge too, when Sabine ends up with the Darksaber, she takes it to her mother and she's like, did you beat him in combat? And there's just like this weird allusion to Maul still has artifacts that are Mandalorian. So who's to say we don't come across some Darth Maul relics? Like maybe we get a little Crimson Dawn tie-in of some sort, not like a full-blown like plot tie-in, but it's there, just a hint of it. Mm-hmm. And that would lead to a really, really cool conversation and really might even lead to something great for the 4th season potentially. Yeah. I mean, I'm just hard, or at least into Ahsoka, but hardcore speculating on that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I see Sundari and I think, you know what? You don't go back to this planet without at least mentioning the siege or see a clone helmet or something.
We're getting that stuff. It's going to be very similar to how they handled Death Star 2 and Rise of Skywalker. But I think, honestly, and this isn't shade thrown at Rise of Skywalker or anything like that, but I think it's going to be done a lot better. Because I think that Favreau, Filoni kind of understand, especially Filoni, they understand the impact of this location, how much the fans really loved the Siege of Mandalore arc in the Clone Wars. So we're definitely getting those Easter eggs. I 1000% would be shocked if we don't see a destroyed clone trooper helmet or even just remains of a fully decked out suit of a clone trooper.
Something's hard. Here's the hard thing for me though. Now I'm thinking about it a little more hard now is that, this is post Empire.
You're right.
So if there's something still there from the Republic, from the Clone Wars, it's going to be like in the depths,
in the deep. Yeah.
I mean, or it's just in a desert scape.
Sure.
So, I mean,
I think you're right. I think you're right. But maybe not 1,000% going to happen, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Because again, it's just one of those reminders. Okay. Where are we at in the timeline? That's the beauty of Star Wars, is that it has to stay linear.
Yeah.
If it doesn't stay linear, what's this all about?
Right.
And so, and then, sequel trilogy did a few things where it was no longer linear, but we can talk about that another time. But anyway, I think that's important to remember, even though I do think that we will see some sort of mention of the Siege of Mandalore. We're going to get a lot of the Day of a Thousand Tears references, just 100%. There's just no way around it at this point.
Absolutely. All right. Well, overall thoughts on the leak trailer then?
I need to see it in HD.
Yeah.
4K something, but I was already content to wait on it.
Yeah.
And then, I came across it on TikTok.
Right.
And so I sent it to you, I think is what happened. I don't know if you'd already seen it at that point or not.
I think I had.
Okay. So when I came across it, it was like, oh my gosh. And I
think you stumbled upon gold.
Well, I think somebody else sent it to me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, hold on a second. It might have been John Hare, our music's, composer. He's
sign him up for the next animated series at least. Let's go Star Wars.
Yes. But anyway, I just I can see maybe how those things come into play. I hope that this comes about a lot sooner rather than later. Like I said, I was content to wait on it, but I've seen the cruddy little version of it,
right?
From someone's cell phone. Looked like it was filmed on a Nokia. But hey, if that's what I get to see for now, awesome. Well, but
I still think that the leak was, like you had mentioned, the quality wasn't great. So when we actually still see the real thing, it's still going to be a genuine kind of reaction, because we haven't seen the stars in the wars yet. We've just seen like this glitchy
the
war
blurs,
part,
the blurs and the hers. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it'll still be, and that's it's probably going to be a YouTube video. We're probably going to do a little reaction to that Mandalorian trailer once they do finally drop it. I have a feeling that they have all intents and purposes to not drop a Mandalorian trailer until after Andor has premiered. That would only make sense, because why would you get people pumped up for Mandalorian when it's not even the next thing that's coming? So I think it's coming. I think it's coming next month. I think it's coming in D23, because that'll be few weeks after Andor is premiered. People will already be engaged and locked into that show at that point, and D23 will just be a good opportunity to drop a Mando trailer, and probably this specific Mando trailer, if we're being honest. I don't think that they'll give us anything new. I think it'll probably be the same thing. But regardless, once we see that full high-def version, me and DJ will cover it, because I'm sure we'll pick up on other things. We'll see other things. We'll probably even hear a bit of dialogue that we may have missed, because fans and just cheering and things like that during the little leak trailer that we got was kind of hard to tell and piece together some things. So we'll see when it comes, but eventually It will come. It will come. All right. Let's move on to our final topic of this episode. I'm going to pass it to DJ, though, because this is something that he's very, very, very passionate about. The question is Qui-Gon Jinn the greatest Jedi to ever exist? And so DJ has the floor. We're going to see if he can convince me, the audience, the listener, the viewer, whoever, that Qui-Gon Jinn is in fact the GOAT. All right, DJ, take it away.
Well, okay, so this kind of came about for me through watching the Disney Gallery with Filoni kind of breaking down the whole Duel of the Fates thing and why it's about Anakin. Yes, you have Maul and he's awesome, and you got Obi-Wan and he's awesome, and Qui-Gon's there and he's awesome. Now, when you look at every Jedi at face value, there are certainly Jedi who stand out more than Qui-Gon Jinn. But you know, you look at Mace Windu, for example, he's inherently cooler than Qui-Gon Jinn for a number of reasons. And this isn't a question of whether or not Qui-Gon is the coolest Jedi or the one that stands out the most. I'm looking at it in more of a broad strokes fashion.
Okay.
In which Qui-Gon is the greatest Jedi to live or ever exist for just really a handful of reasons. And it's because I believe his fate decides what happens to Anakin. I'm convinced that if Qui-Gon lives, certain things go right.
Sure.
Okay. And not only that, when they go wrong, Qui-Gon is still a huge factor in the overall scape of what's taking place in the full saga from one to 9. I really 1 to 9. So that's what I want to say up front. Qui-Gon's not the flashiest Jedi. He doesn't have all the tricks, but he, I think, embodies the true essence of what a Jedi is supposed to be.
Okay.
And
I see that. I 1000% see that for sure.
Because even if you look it down the line, Obi-Wan is skewed just a hair, but it's because of the Chosen One prophecy.
Yeah.
And because he and Yoda are a little bit skewed because of the Chosen One prophecy, Luke eventually gets a little skewed, and we see Kylo Ren fall, or I should say Ben Solo fall. And of course, he comes back redemption wise, but then also Luke is a little jaded, and I think that stems back to Qui-Gon. And even Rey has a few moments where she's kind of jaded, even in Rise of Skywalker, that stem back to Qui-Gon. Now, her relationship to Palpatine is really her story there, and I understand that. But there are things that tie back to Qui-Gon that you can see ripple effects throughout the whole 9 series.
Yeah.
Just in the Skywalker saga.
For sure.
So that's kind of like my soft introduction on this. I feel like I could go a lot deeper on that introduction.
Yeah.
But here I want to give my first reason as to why Qui-Gon's the best. Okay. First and foremost, he sees the potential of Anakin before anyone else does. He obviously notices that there is something very peculiar about Anakin Skywalker when he meets him. And fate in a story, it has a funny way of working itself out. Let's abandon the fact that this is all fairy tale and myth for a second, and let's pretend it's reality.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where my mind has to go. So just bear with me. All right. So if you're listening or watching, just know that I'm abandoning reality for a moment to put myself and immerse myself in a story. All right. So because there's a reason that one laser bolt hit the hyperdrive on the royal, starship from Naboo. It's just ridiculous because the Force is the Force. Okay. The Force is the reason that bolt hit where it did. There's a reason that they only had enough power to get to Tatooine. There's a reason they had to go to Watto's shop, So really all of this stems back to Palpatine invading Naboo and using the Trade Federation as pawns. So by the time we get to actually Tatooine, Qui-Gon just notices there's something different about this kid. I mean, almost right out the gate. And it takes
100%.
It takes very little convincing for him to say, this kid has some Jedi traits. you know, like, and I know that the Jedi are trained to notice these things, but Qui-Gon sees it a little different. It's almost like he has like a certain kind of radar for these things.
Yeah.
And if you read Dooku Jedi Lost and you read Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, I can't even speak to volumes how important those novels are for this discussion. But when you look at what Qui-Gon was doing and his research that he did underneath Dooku when he was his apprentice, and even what he teaches Obi-Wan in Master and Apprentice, you just can't go without mentioning that he did the research to find out these prophecies. And he spent so much of his private life trying to understand these prophecies, to the point that when he finally comes across the prophecy of the chosen one, that being Anakin, he can't help but put everything he has into it.
Right.
So the fact that he sees Anakin, it stretches so far beyond just some kid who can use the Force, because that's who is, honestly, that's all Ahsoka is when she's found by Plo Koon. She's just some kid who can use the Force, or every other Force sensitive character that we've seen as a child or a baby in Star Wars canon. They're all just people who can use the Force. And the importance here is that Anakin's not just one of those people. So because Qui-Gon finds him, he decides, okay, this is something I have spent my private life researching and understanding. I need to give myself over to this so that I can train him the way he needs to be trained. Because I think Qui-Gon understands he's the only person in the Order who really cares that much about it.
Yeah, right. 100%.
So that's really the explanation behind the first point. He's the first person to see the potential in Anakin. And on top of that, Mace Windu's like, no, we're not training him. And even Obi-Wan.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
Yeah, Obi-Wan calls him a pathetic life form.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the ignorance of a young Jedi.
Sure.
That being Obi-Wan. But regardless, okay, nobody wants to train this kid except Qui-Gon, okay? And then there's this reluctant promise that kind of happens at the end of Phantom Menace.
Right.
And Obi-Wan still doesn't seem thrilled about it until we get to Attack of the Clones. I know there's 10 years of time to be around somebody and to grow to love somebody, but hey, regardless, you know, that's a lot of time spent to get to that point. And I still think there's reluctance. Okay. So point number one, that's the potential. Is Qui-Gon sees the potential. What do you have any thoughts on that, Caleb?
No, I mean, yeah, 100% from Phantom Menace. He was the number one supporter of Anakin becoming a Jedi. He was the only one in the entire film that supported that decision. Honestly, me not reading the, Master and Apprentice, Dooku Lost, all that kind of stuff, I would guess maybe the only other person that might have gone along with Qui-Gon, and this is just a total guess, this may be completely wrong, DJ.
Okay.
Maybe Dooku, because they were close. Like, I just don't see anyone else, though, on the Jedi Council seeing the potential in Anakin like Qui-Gon Jinn did. So, yeah, 1,000%, I agree with your first point that he is the only one that puts that trust in young Anakin.
And maybe Shmi.
Oh, yeah,
of course. She's not a Jedi.
Right.
I don't even put Padme on that list.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Padme's just like, well, he's kind of cute, and that's about it. I mean, that's really Phantom Menace in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's the first thought behind that, and there's also a non-canon. It's now non-canon that Dooku was actually trying to seduce Obi-Wan to the dark side to have him as his apprentice in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Which, that would have been great if they'd run with that. But you brought up Dooku, and I was like, man, I forgot about that. I had to mention it. But let's talk some more about Qui-Gon, because even though Qui-Gon's mentioned in that conversation with Dooku, there's a chance that Qui-Gon could have pulled Dooku back to the light, for all that. I want to see a Star Wars What If series so bad, and I just want to see what if Qui-Gon lives.
That'd be cool. I
mean, I'm about to go ride it myself.
Do it.
Just because I want to see it, But
Do it.
Well, I got some time. I'll be at the beach, so maybe the sun will get too hot, and I just start writing. Okay, let me get to my second point here. Okay, now I've got 3 total, and I don't think all of these will require a ton of elaboration like the first one did, but here we go. Okay, so second thing is he denied the opportunity to be on the council. He was given that chance, and that's displayed in both Phantom Menace and Master and Apprentice. In Phantom Menace, we kind of just get this nugget, where Obi-Wan just kind of says, if you would just stop denying them, you'd be on the council. I mean, if you just stop, Obi-Wan just sees arrogance, but Qui-Gon sees wisdom beyond the council. Like, let's just stop and think for a second. What if Qui-Gon was on the council? What if he was sent still on this mission to Naboo as a council member and still comes across Anakin? He comes back, sits in that circle in that ivory tower, and all of a sudden he's like, guys, we've got to get this. We got to get this kid trained. Yeah. And Obi-Wan could have gone and done the trials and it'd have been a grand old time, but he's denied that opportunity, or not denied, but he denies the opportunity to be on the council, which it's a group of individuals who believed that Qui-Gon was focused on the wrong things. Something very clearly laid out, not just in Phantom Menace, but definitely in Master and Apprentice. And when you see and realize that, man, you can't unsee it, that he could have done something so spectacular for the council. He could have taught them things that they would have blown their minds. And all it took was a willingness to just be open-minded to something new. And allow me to interject a little bit of my career in here for just a second. As a pastor, I come across other ministers and other churches all the time where objectively I can look and say, man, if you would just do this, this problem wouldn't exist, And I think a lot of us can do that when we step outside of a situation and say, it doesn't even matter what your career is. You very easily can see where, oh man, your management style doesn't work because this needs to change or something like that, And I think that that's something that is overlooked when we look at Qui-Gon, that he has something to give and they're not willing to receive it because they're just perfectly fine to status quo. And Qui-Gon's offering the knowledge. Now, here's what the knowledge is. It's the knowledge of those prophecies. It's the ability to interpret what the people of the past left behind for the people of the future to find. A little bit like a national treasure situation. Okay. But beyond that, it's just teaching the new generation, and Qui-Gon just seems to be the only person to want to pick up and run with it besides Dooku, but that's in Jedi Lost. Yeah. So all that to say, because he denies the opportunity to be on the council, they recognize how important and how powerful he is and his knowledge, but he says, no, thanks. Yeah. And it mainly was to train Obi-Wan. That's the cool. He's like, no, I got to train my guy, And that's a beautifully written thing in that novel by Claudia Gray. So that's really the second point. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, just to add to that, I think Qui-Gon is just knowledgeable enough to realize, just like us as a viewer, that the council is no longer operating the way they need to be. Like, there's obviously corruption, things like that are going on. That's really, I mean, yes, obviously Palpatine, kind of pushed the narrative regarding the Jedi being wiped out, but really, if you look back at it, the Jedi kind of caused their own undoing, and I think Qui-Gon Jinn is just one of the only characters that's able to see that. Yes. Now, obviously, eventually, I think Ahsoka obviously becomes another one that sees that eventually, that, okay, maybe I'm going to use what I've gone through to maybe just kind of separate myself from this situation, because maybe y'all aren't really going down the path that we should be going. But so other than Ahsoka, I would say 1,000% the first one to kind of lead that charge, Qui-Gon Jinn. Because, again, I really think Qui-Gon just had the knowledge to notice y'all aren't really doing what Jedi really are all about. So, yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay. Well, and I'm trying to be objective a little bit here, but I don't want everybody to agree with this at the same time, because I want there to be a little strife in this. But this one, I think, is the cake. Okay. This is, well, really not even the cake. This is the icing. This is just like what proves all of it. Yeah. Qui-Gon spent so much time studying the prophecies that we hear this concept of the living force brought up, I think, for the first time in Phantom Menace. if I'm not mistaken. The idea of the living force as the force truly flows through an individual. Like, obviously, we can use the force to lift things, move rocks, mind tricks, etc. We can do all these things. But to really feel the force flow through you is something that is only achieved in Clone Wars Season 5. That, of course, is Yoda's journey.
Sure.
And Qui-Gon speaks to him on Dagobah. And then, of course, we get to the end of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and well, it took you long enough. And, you know, and here, I was always here. You just weren't ready to see me. Obi-Wan had to conquer certain things to be able to see Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was able to manifest himself through the Force, largely in part to something metaphysical. The only way I can really put it. But the metaphysical side of that came into play when he was still alive, and he basically had a greater knowledge of the living force than any other Jedi, which is really the ultimate point I'm trying to make here, is that he had greater knowledge of the living force than any other Jedi, because he's seeing, I'll call it, mountaintop moments.
Yeah.
While everybody else is just in the valley. I mean, he's peeking out over a long period of time, and he's able to say, this is happening now, but it won't happen for real until later. You know, like he's like, I can see the future, essentially, not like literally, but like he's wise enough to say, this is what's going to happen. This is the way of the future. How are the Jedi going to survive? They're only going to survive by me basically becoming a Force ghost, is kind of what he gets to the point of doing. He teaches Yoda. First of all, that's another important side detail here. He teaches Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Yoda is the grand master of the Jedi Council. He is top dog Jedi. And even he's distracted by the war. Even he realizes that Anakin's future is clouded. Okay. But at the same time, if Yoda had just jumped all in with Qui-Gon, we probably wouldn't have had Darth Vader.
Sure.
Which, I mean, sucks from a movie standpoint, but like in the reality of Star Wars,
right.
It's like, oh man, you could save so much war and evil from taking place just by nipping that in the bud day one. And I think that Yoda really wanted to jump in on it, but he's just reluctant. So therefore, Qui-Gon has to do what he has to do, and that being he has to die. So the end of the day here, you've got Qui-Gon teaching Yoda how to become one with the Force, followed by teaching Obi-Wan how to become one with the Force, followed by them teaching Luke, and inevitably Luke teaching Rey. I mean, this is a modern.
Oh, and Leia too, for sure.
Oh yeah, and Leia. I totally forgot about Leia. So it's mainly just because Carrie Fisher is no longer with us.
Sure.
But you have Luke teaching Leia these things too. So that's going to get passed down. So when Rey eventually trains more Jedi,
Finn,
it's something, huh?
I said Finn.
Finn, that's something that'll be passed down.
Yeah.
And the only way that stops is if, Rey doesn't have the opportunity to say it before she dies. Just throwing that out there.
Sure.
So again, this goes back to the original point. The ripple effects of Qui-Gon's death go through the whole saga. He doesn't die. He's the greatest Jedi ever. He takes the top spot when Yoda or Mace Windu dies.
Sure.
I
can see that. Yeah.
And also, just in another sense, I like to look at the family tree of masters and Padawans. And Yoda trains Dooku, Dooku trains Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon trains Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan trains Luke, Luke trains Rey. So you have this through line, and up to, Dooku had a chance to be on the council. I don't know if he ever was. I can't remember. But he had the opportunity to be on the council, and he wasn't, I think. Qui-Gon had the opportunity. He wasn't. But Obi-Wan makes it, and then Anakin makes it. Who's to say that Luke or Rey or anybody else wouldn't have made it to that level or status because of that ripple effect of training had Qui-Gon stayed alive? This is just all this is speculation.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, that point I'm really trying to make right here, and I've kind of chased the rabbit, I'm sorry, but he had a greater knowledge of the living force than the other Jedi. Because of that knowledge, he's able to, let the Jedi survive past Order 66.
Yeah.
He's the reason the Jedi exist past Order 66. And you don't really get Luke Skywalker running off to save the princess on the Death Star unless Qui-Gon steps in and saves the day with Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3 and also the Obi-Wan series.
Mm-hmm.
So everything goes back to Qui-Gon, which is so wild to say because it does. He's just the pawn in Lucas's story to get to Vader, but ultimately he is the greatest Jedi because he kind of holds everything in his hands. And the second he's dead, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think it's the Plagueis novel where Palpatine realizes this. If I'm not mistaken, I need Jonathan Harrow to be here right now to correct me because he's read it. I know he knows it, but in that novel, I believe that Palpatine realizes that and he starts pulling the strings to try to manipulate that situation and really force Qui-Gon out.
Yeah.
So if I remember that correctly. So anyway, that's really my whole basis for Qui-Gon being the greatest Jedi.
Sure.
Yeah, he's not flashy. He looks like every other Jedi out there. He's got a sweet green lightsaber with a red button and he's got a cool ponytail mullet looking thing. And that's all fun, but he's not the coolest looking Jedi. But the fact remains, you don't have to be the coolest looking Jedi to be the most important Jedi.
Sure.
And I think he is the most important Jedi up until his death and certainly even beyond his death. Eventually that mantle gets put on Luke and that may be another conversation. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, so I would, at the end of the day, because obviously people are going to have different opinions on who's the greatest Jedi. At the end of the day, I really think it comes down to who you're asking's personality. Do you value knowledge the most? Because if it's knowledge, yes, the answer is Qui-Gon Jinn. Do you value sheer power as far as being the greatest Jedi? Then you probably have an argument between, I don't know, maybe Anakin or Luke. Probably a Skywalker
Anakin.
battle in there somewhere, though.
Yeah.
Do you value just life wisdom? Then it's Yoda. There's probably just depends on who you're asking, depending on their own personality. And I probably lean with you as far as I value wisdom, knowledge, things like that as far as who's the GOAT. And I would say Qui-Gon Jinn definitely fits in that category. So I'm kind of with you on that. But yeah, like I said, I mentioned to you off air, I think people probably have an argument for Ahsoka as well, just because a lot of her storylines kind of are similar, reflect a little bit Qui-Gon Jinn. We kind of even discussed that a little bit with both of them kind of branching off and saying no in a sense in two kind of totally different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely similarities there. So I see how a lot of people would say that Qui-Gon Jinn is certainly the greatest of all time regarding the Jedi. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it just depends on who's answering.
That's fair, especially that point about Ahsoka. The only thing I would say about Ahsoka being not the greatest in this argument is that by the time she realizes what's going wrong, it's too late.
Yeah.
And there was still a chance with Qui-Gon, and I think that's what the big difference between those two are.
And I tell you what, Ahsoka has something that Qui-Gon doesn't, and that is life. She still has time to make this argument a little bit different.
That's a really good point. And if the series comes out and it just goes off without a hitch, which I sure hope it does, and I'm willing to bet it will, that could be a great argument and a revisit to this conversation.
For sure.
Because she is one that struggles with power and decides, no, I need to branch off into knowledge and wisdom. So more to your point too there,
Yeah, absolutely. Man, well, that's interesting thoughts there for our listeners, viewers to kind of chew on and think about. But we appreciate all of you out there that are listening, viewing, got this far in this podcast episode. Like we mentioned at the top, you can guarantee another podcast episode coming close to the beginning of September. We're going to, again, aim for the first Monday in September, a podcast episode is going to release, which means that on the next podcast episode, me and DJ are going to be full on spoiler discussing the first 2 episodes of Andor, and that is crazy to say.
Crazy to think about.
Crazy to say, but yes, remember though that on YouTube you can almost expect like it's kind of like at a need-to-do basis, you can expect YouTube content. Like when a news piece drops, you can expect a YouTube short or something. When a trailer drops, you can expect a YouTube trailer reaction, something like that. So YouTube will be a need-to-do basis, which might be like every other day, maybe once a week. Who knows? We'll see. So again, subscribe to that channel if you haven't done so already. But podcasts moving forward will continue to be once a month, releasing on the first Monday of each month. So yeah, the next time you hear from us on the podcast airwaves, Cassian Andor's show will be out there, and hopefully,
it's crazy.
Potentially, hopefully, by the time you're listening to our voices right now, maybe another Andor trailer has dropped because I'm itching. I'm itching to see something regarding that show. But I think the marketing is about to crank up.
I would imagine D23. Does it happen after or before Andor premieres?
After.
Okay, I was gonna say maybe we'll get another trailer.
I think it comes within the next week and a half. Honestly.
Oh, okay.
I think
fair.
Once the calendar flips to August, which is, I mean, when you're hearing this episode, when you're hearing our voices, it's August. Andor trailer's coming soon, for sure.
Has to. Yeah, it's got to.
All right, DJ, thank you so much for being here again. Any final words you'd like to say to the lovely audience?
Peace out, Django.
Lovely. All right, if you want more from us, me and DJ, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but you can also check us out on socials at Mando Talk on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And until next time, as always, we have spoken.